Hello, we are from Group 39. Our topic is what is the main goal of sportsmanship in the achievement of Sabah athlete. For the background of study, the success of sports in Sabah is influenced by their sense of sportsmanship. Sportsmanship also will encourage Sabah athlete to face the challenge. For the problem statement for the research is one is lack of skill. Second is lack of sportsmanship among Sabah athlete. The lastly is how to measure Sabah athlete performance. The research question for this paper is what is the relationship between sportsmanship and the performance of Sabah athlete? Second, how does sportsmanship training impact the behavior and performance athlete in Sabah? Lastly, what are the factors that contribute to the development of sportsmanship among athletes in Sabah? Next, for the objective question for this paper, first is to analyze the relationship between sportsmanship training on the behavior and athlete Sabah performance. Second is to determine the impact of sportsmanship training on the behavior and performance of athlete Sabah. Lastly is to identify the factors that contribute to the development of sportsmanship among athlete Sabah. The significance of study for this paper is to investigate the relationship between sportsmanship and the degree of achievement Sabah athletes. This study also is to educate the reader about the value of sportsmanship in improving the success of athletes, particularly Sabah athletes. Last one is to focus on the importance of sportsmanship in the development of sports, which can benefit reader, whether players, government, or general public.
In the literature review, we discuss about the related issue with sportsmanship that help improve athletes' potential. Next, we discuss about the framework. It contains about the challenges and impacts of sportsmanship. Some of the challenge are individual behavior and obstacle from parents. While for the impact, we discuss about the sportsmanship give a fair competition and building a sport community. Last but not least, the recommendation toward the journal. We discussed about the recommendation that can be considered. From the previous study, it was recommended that studying the impact of passion on individuals, society, and even the country is one of the improvements that may be done. Next, exposure to elements that influence sportsmanship. Lastly, the organization that provide youth sport adopt the following practice in order to improve the environment for young athletes.
Hello everyone, my name is SITI AKMAL NASIR, matrix number BB211108885, and I will be explaining about the chapter 3. And for the introduction, it consists of research methodology. It involves various techniques, including research and conducting a survey. In this chapter, the discussion includes research design, research framework, instrument and measurement, data collection, and research hypothesis. In 3.2, for research design, we use the mixed method, qualitative and quantitative method. And for the research framework, for the independent variable, we focus on sportsmanship, and for the dependent variable, we focus on athletes in Sabah. 3.4 instrument and measurement, we utilize a few different tools and measurements in order to gain a deeper comprehension on this topic, in which we collect data from individuals that are active in sports, which are athletes, specifically in Sabah, to answer the survey, and also to make observation based on the article. The article that we used were the 30 journals related to sports that we have compiled and analyzed. For 3.5, collection of data is collected by doing survey forms, and the forms will be answered by athletes. By these, we make a Google form and distribute the Google form among Sabah athletes and make them answer the questionnaires. The primary data were journals related to sports, where we collected 30 journals among us researchers, and the secondary data are sports achievement reports, where we gain from newspaper and news reports. For the data from the answer survey will then be compiled and analyzed And the focus group that we have focused to answer the questionnaires are Sabahan athletes. For 3.6, the research hypothesis. The research hypothesis states that the sportsmanship has a positive relationship with Sabah athletes for several reasons, which are sportsmanship promotes ethical conduct among athletes. Secondly, good sportsmanship enhances
That's all from us. Thank
cohesion
you.
and unity. Thirdly, embracing sportsmanship as a core value. Fourth, sportsmanship encourages Sabah athletes to respect their opponents. 5. Sabah athletes who exhibit sportsmanship become positive role models for others. And the last one is demonstrating sportsmanship helps Sabah athletes build a positive reputation within the sporting community. In conclusion, embracing sportsmanship leads to positive outcomes for Sabah athletes, enabling them to excel in their sports, develop as individuals, and contribute positively to the sporting community. For 3.7 method estimation, the questionnaire has 6 parts, which are demographic information, which are age, gender, and occupation. Secondly, sports knowledge, which are using a Likert scale with 3 options, which are agree, maybe, or disagree. The third one is impact of sports training on athletes' behavior and performance, which are yes, no, and maybe answers. Fourth, factors contributing to the development of sports among athletes in Sabah, which is using Likert scale with 5 options, which are strongly agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. And finally, a final section to say thank you to the respondents. That's all from me. Thank you.
Background respondent. There are 25 respondents from the questionnaire were gathered for this investigation. Their part is demography, which include their age, gender, and occupation. The following table will give a result of the conclusion and the statistic. Part 1 show the knowledge about sportsmanship. For this category, we provide yes, no, and maybe as the answer. There are 4 questions in the section. The mean is 0.28 and the mode is 0. It shows the most of the respondents chose yes for the answer. Part 2. The next section of this questionnaire is relationship between sportsmanship and the performance of athletes in Sabah. For this section, also 4 questions. For this question, we use 5 circles where 5 represent strongly agree, 4 is agree, 3 is neutral, 2 is disagree, and 1 is strongly disagree. Part 3. For the category of the impact of sportsmanship training on the behavior and performance of athletes. For this category, we provide yes, no, and maybe as the answer, where 1 is indicated as yes, 0 is no, and 2 is maybe. For the question about training improve athletes' attitude and encourage them to perform better, the mean, which is the average value of the set of the data, is 1.12. The response was inclined toward the positive impact of training. Part 4. For the last category, which is the factor of the contribute to the development of sportsmanship among athletes in Sabah. For this cycle, we represent each of the number where 5 represent strongly agree, 4 is agree, 3 is neutral, 2 is disagree, and 1 is strongly agree.
For Chapter 5, first is overview of study. Sportsmanship encompasses a set of ethical behavior and attitude that influence an athlete's approach to competition, relationship with teammates and opponents, and overall character development. Next, for the discussion of finding, sportsmanship play a crucial role in the achievement of Sabah athlete. It is not just about winning or losing, but also about how athletes conduct themselves on and off the field. By embodying sportsmanship, Sabah athletes can realize their full potential and excel in their respective sport. For the limitation, sportsmanship is a crucial for the success of Sabah athlete, but it has limitation. Consistent sportsmanship can be challenging due to intense competition, culture, and societal influence. Subjective interpretation and external pressure, culture's norm and value can shape athlete attitude and behavior, while subjective interpretation can lead to disagreement and debates about fair play. External pressure, such as coach, teammates, and spectator, can also impact athlete ability to consistently display sportsmanship. Lastly, for implication, sportsmanship is crucial for the success of Sabah athlete as it enhances performance, fosters and positive sport culture, promotes personal growth, and cultivates sport ambassador. Athletes will prioritize sportsmanship, focus on improving their abilities and focusing on skill development, leading to continuous grow and improve performance. This positive sport culture attracts and retains talented individuals, promote inclusivity, and foster a sportive atmosphere for all involved.
Last but not least, in Chapter 6, we discuss the recommendation in improving sportsmanship among the athletes and the overall conclusion of these studies. I started with the recommendation. The first recommendation is to improve the sports infrastructure. Investment in sports infrastructure such as building, equipment, and the technology allow athletes to train comfortably and consistently. This indirectly will lead to the increasing of the spirits of the athletes to train harder in order to improve their performance in sports. Second, sports incentives. Offering sports incentives to the athlete is one of the methods for encouraging sportsmanship. Awards, trophies, and titles can be used to show our appreciation to the athletes that show higher sportsmanship in sports, especially in Sabah. Next, focus on athletes' mental health. Government should focus more in maintaining stability of athletes' mental health. This is because mental health is one of the important elements in building self-confidence and sportsmanship among the athletes. Lastly, build athletes' inner strength. By encouraging them to love what they're doing, it could help them to increase their spirits and make them happy to involve in the sport. This will lead to the improvement of their performance level. In conclusion of the studies, sportsmanship shows a positive relationship in improving the achievements of the Sabah's athletes. It is clear that sportsmanship plays an important role in improving the performance of Sabah's athletes.